Congratulations, you've just woken up in the year 1350. So is a swarm of hungry lice that's currently feasting on every inch of your body. Your bed might as well be a medieval version of a flea market. It's more like a living, breathing infestation than anything you'd want to sleep in. Your room smells like old socks left unwashed for weeks, mixed with the acrid scent of smoke and wood ash. The only light comes from the flickering flames, casting eerie shadows on your straw, thatch, ceiling, which leaks every time it rains. Your home is a one-room shack with no windows to speak of, just a few cracks in the wood letting in enough light for you to squint your eyes and see your family huddled around the fire. It's like living in a medieval version of an overcrowded apartment, your family, livestock, and household pests all sharing this space without any privacy or comfort. The church bell clangs loudly outside, marking another day of toil and hardship. It's the medieval equivalent of an alarm clock, only louder and less merciful. You can hear your stomach grumbling already. Today will start as most do, hungry, cold, and covered in insects. But here's what nobody expects, even though you've just started your day. It's clear this isn't going to be an ordinary one. As you leave your hut, a figure dressed in dark leather armor approaches from the shadows of the village square. You're wanted by the local lord, they say, their eyes scanning you suspiciously as if expecting resistance. And that's all before breakfast. You have no idea what this could mean for your day or for your life. But it's clear one thing is certain. Today is going to be a lot more than just another day of medieval hardship. But it's clear one thing is certain. Today is going to be a lot more than just another day of medieval drudgery. You roll out of bed, your joints creaking like an old door hinge. Your skin itches from head to toe, thanks to the flea circus performing acrobatics on you all night long. Your stomach grumbles as if it's been waiting for food since yesterday, because let's face it, you've barely eaten since then. You grab your rough wool tunic and leather belt. Try not to think about how many times they've been washed, which is probably once in the past 5 years. You stumble out into the crisp morning air, greeted by the sound of roosters crowing like madmen and the distant thud of someone's hammer as work begins for the day. The streets are already bustling with peasants rushing to their fields or market stalls, all clad in similar ragged clothing that's seen better days than you have. You spot your friend across the way, a fellow deathworm hunter who is as miserable as you are. He nods at you but doesn't stop to chat. Everyone is too busy trying not to starve or die of some mysterious illness that seems to lurk around every corner. The day begins like any other, except today's mission is the worst one yet. You're tasked with hunting down deathworms, creatures so terrifying they've earned their name, because facing them is often worse than dying from plague or famine. But here's the thing. You're not exactly sure why you became a deathworm hunter in the first place. Maybe it was the promise of glory, or perhaps it was sheer desperation for something to do that wasn't farming or praying for rain. But probably not. The village elder called you out early this morning with grim news and even grimmer instructions. You're to venture into the woods behind town, where rumors say the deathworms have nested near an old ruin covered in ivy and twisted vines. It's like going on vacation, but instead of sunbathing by a pool, it's battling monstrous earthworms armed only with your wits and whatever tools you can scrounge up at home. Your heart skips a beat as you think about what might be waiting for you there, but there's no turning back now unless you want to starve like everyone else in town. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, everything changes the moment you step through the threshold of that ancient ruin. The air feels colder, darker, and heavier than anything you've ever experienced. Your eyes adjust slowly to reveal a chamber lined with cracked walls and cobwebs thicker than your arm. But here's what nobody expected. You take a deep breath, steeling yourself for whatever horrors lie ahead. You know one thing for sure, though, you're not coming back from this unscathed. Maybe not even alive. But that's okay, because today is when everything changes. You ventured into this dark abyss with nothing but a torch and a hope that maybe today is your lucky day. But here's the thing. The cave walls are covered in bizarre symbols. Something about them sends shivers down your spine. They look almost like an ancient warning sign, but from what? The air is thick with dust and silence, broken only by your own nervous breathing. You have to choose one of these tunnels now. It's a split-second decision that could determine whether you make it back home or become another local legend. You take a deep breath, about to venture down the left path, but here's what nobody expected. Suddenly, the air shifts and you hear a low, guttural noise that seems to emanate from the depths of the cavern. It's as if something is alive and watching your every move. You freeze, holding your breath, trying to decide whether to turn back or press forward into the unknown. The cave trembles ever so slightly, like an earthquake, but more. The torchlight flickers wildly as you try to make sense of what is happening around you. You've heard stories about death worms, but this feels different. Everything changes when the temperature drops dramatically and a shadow rushes past your legs so fast that it's hard to believe anything was even there at all. Your heart races as you realize you might be dealing with something far more terrifying than just another death worm. You know these caves are said to hide secrets of the ancient world, but are you prepared for what lies ahead? Suddenly, voices start whispering in the darkness around you. They sound almost playful, like someone or something is toying with your mind and sanity. But here's another thing. You're not alone down here anymore. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, a soft glow begins to grow from deeper in the cave's depths, like a beacon of something far more sinister than any death worm could be. You stand there, frozen in place, trying to decide your next move, but you don't have much time before it comes closer. You stand there, frozen in place, trying to decide your next move, but you don't have much time before the death worm strikes again. Suddenly, a twig snaps behind you. You whirl around to face another threat, heart pounding like a war drum in your chest. But here's the thing. It's not another death worm. You see a flicker of movement from the corner of your eye, but when you turn, there's nothing there. Just the eerie silence of the forest stretching out before you. Your breath comes in quick, shallow gasps as you try to keep track of every sound. You know something is watching you, waiting for you to make a mistake. Your mind races through possible scenarios. Maybe it's just another death worm, but this one is smarter? Or could it be? You're about to take a step forward when the ground beneath your feet shifts and grinds. It's as if the earth itself is alive, moving under your boots like a giant creature waking up from a long sleep. But what on earth could make that noise in this forest? And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, the silence is shattered by a low, rumbling growl not far behind you. Your heart leaps into your throat as you turn around once more. You see shadows moving closer, blending seamlessly with the darkness of the forest. It's like something out of nightmare creatures that seem to defy description or even existence itself. But here's what nobody expected. As one of these shadowy figures draws nearer, you notice it's not just any creature. These are people who have lived in the woods for generations, learning to blend into their surroundings as well as the death worms do. You'd think they're simply hunters like yourself, come to track down these deadly creatures. Maybe even fellow death worm hunters. However, you quickly realize that is far from the truth. These are not your allies. They're worse than any death worm. They're the ones who have been breeding and controlling the death worms for centuries. You feel a cold hand of betrayal grip your heart as the realization dawns on you. Everything changes when you realize that the real danger isn't just the death worms, but the people behind them, those who use these creatures to keep others in fear, subjugated by their terrifying control over nature itself. As one of these shadowy figures steps closer with a sinister smile, your breath catches. You can't move. You're stuck between a deadly worm and an even more terrifying human threat. And then the figure speaks. "Welcome, Hunter." We have been expecting you, but probably not in this way. And just as the words sink in, another twig snaps to your left. You spin around again, but where's that noise coming from? You spin around again, but where's that noise coming from? Suddenly, it's right behind you. You freeze as two glowing eyes lock onto yours. Your heart races like a galloping horse trying to escape a stampede. You have no choice but to pick one left or right. But here's the thing. Both paths lead deeper into darkness. The only difference is that one smells like old bones, while the other carries whispers of ancient secrets. You creep forward, every step echoing off cold stone walls. But here's what nobody expected halfway down. You come across a set of markings on the wall. They look like squiggles and scratches, but could they be? It's like a treasure map from your favorite movie, only it's made with sticks and stones instead of ink and parchment. You'd think this means you're close to something valuable. Maybe it leads to a hoard of gold or ancient relics. Actually, it marks the exact spot where death worms are most active. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, you start hearing another sound of soft hissing that gradually gets louder. You freeze, wondering if it's coming from the ground or the walls. But there are no signs of movement, except for something down below. You feel the ground rumbling beneath you. It's like standing on a living creature that's about to rear up and bite. You're sure it can't be real, but then lucky you, whispers the cave itself. This is where everything changed. It's like being trapped inside a giant fist that's slowly squeezing your life out of you. You can feel it now, not just hear it. But here's the twist. When the cave starts to crumble, it wasn't an earthquake or a trap set by death worms. It was something else entirely. You're about to be buried alive when suddenly you see light at the end of this dark tunnel. But is it rescue? You're alone with your thoughts now. The air is still, and for once, there's no sound of dripping water or scuttling feet to break the silence. This moment, rare as it is, offers a chance to reflect on what being a death worm hunter truly means. It's easy to forget about the constant threat of disease and death when the day-to-day chores consume your mind. But right here now it hits home. The darkness outside is both comforting and terrifying. Comforting because the night promises rest from the relentless cycle of survival. Terrifying because in this medieval world, rest doesn't come without a price. You think about all those times you've risked your life to protect others, only to find out that sometimes protection is just another word for danger. It's like being a firefighter in the age of plague. It's heroic, but also absurdly risky. But here's what nobody expected despite all this. There are moments when you feel something other than fear and exhaustion. Moments like these where it feels less like survival and more like living. You'd think being a death worm hunter was all about the worms themselves. Maybe even about the danger or the adrenaline. But actually, it's about something else entirely, about facing the darkness and still choosing to move forward. And perhaps that's the strangest part, not just surviving in this medieval world, but doing so with a sense of purpose. Not being a hero or a fool, but simply existing in a time when life was as fleeting as a candle flame. It's like looking at an old photograph, gray and faded, yet full of stories you can almost hear if you listen closely enough. And in this moment, the past doesn't seem so distant after all. And that S, when it dawns on you, the real struggle isn't just about fighting off death worms or surviving another day. It's about remembering why any of this matters in the first place.